Because of what prisoner 819 did, my cell is a mess. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing.
Meow, I'm Huples' cat. The one experiment most people have heard of is the 1971 Stanford Prison Experiment. It proved that human beings are easily turned into monsters under the right conditions. Or did it? Young white males, as part of the 1960s-70s hippie culture, rapidly became power-crazed fiends wielding batons and torturing prisoners. 48 hours before, they were exactly the same type of people as the prisoners. How could that happen? From this relaxed counterculture lifestyle to full-on baton-waving, power-crazed people in 48 hours? From fighting and occasionally being shot to protest police and military violence and racism into passively controlled and no longer individualized within 72 hours? The science of psychology did not seriously question this until 2019. Most people didn't doubt the findings. This is shocking. So come on a journey with me to have a good hard look at the Stanford Prison Experiment.
So the Stanford Prison Study very simply is an attempt to see what happens when you put really good people in a bad place. We put an ad in the city newspaper, wanted students for study of prison life, lasting up to 2 weeks. We're going to pay you $15 a day. This is back in 1971. It's pretty good money. And we picked 75 volunteers, gave them a battery of psychological tests, and we picked 24 who on all dimensions were normal and healthy to begin with. And then we did what is critical for all research. We randomly assigned half of them to the role of playing guards or the role of playing prisoners. And then what we did is we told the guards come down a day early, and we had them pick their own uniform. We had them help set up the prison so they'd feel like it was their prison and the prisoners were coming into their place.
This is Philip Zimbardo, who was the chief researcher. The 24 hours were used to instruct the guards on what to say and what their reaction should be. It was very much scripted to be overtly hostile and cruel to the prisoners right from the beginning. So this makes all results invalid. Not really surprising to think only 22 hours made normal young men into soulless guards or empty zombie prisoners. What is surprising is that the results never were questioned for over 48 years. Everyone involved made money from books, interviews and films.
The prisoners, we simply said, wait at home or in the dormitories. Well, what we didn't tell them, which is a little bit of the deception of omission.
A little bit? No huge flagrant ethics violations at the beginning, during and the end of this research study. It is arguable whether it caused harm or not, as we shall see later. If it was scripted, then likely there is no harm. But the chief researcher led his own research as the prison governor. He later claimed he got caught up in it like everyone else, thus causing more proof that his thesis was valid. Even he lost his individuality. The prisoners were told that they'd experience arrest and detention. They were not told they'd be abused, forced to fight each other, or subject to not being able to quit the study. Not being able to quit in a human research study is an absolute huge violation of ethics. Zimbardo had told the guards that they were his research assistants, but not that they were in the study as participants. Another huge ethics violation. He told them what to say and how to react. He told them it would end early, and this invalidates it all as research. Okay, this sounds bad, eh? Makes the results even more dramatic. So prisoner 8612 is supposed to have had a mental collapse. He was then denied healthcare and continued in the study. Wow. Except it was scripted. Prisoner 8612 wanted to study for an exam whilst in jail, but the guards denied him access to his textbooks. He was interviewed by Zimbardo and then returned to his cell. It is likely he acted out as directed to see how it would impact the others. But let us return to Zimbardo's take on all of this.
Is that they were arrested by the city police.
Right there, they took me out the door, they put my hands against the car. It was a real cop car, it was a real policeman. They took me to the police station, the basement of the police station.
I had told the policeman to put a blindfold on the prisoners, but since they had never been arrested, they didn't know that doesn't happen. The reason for the blindfold is then my assistants would come, put him in our car, bring him down to our prison, and they'd be in our prison now, blindfolded. The guards would strip them naked, delouse them, pretending that they were lice. It's kind of a degradation ritual. And after the first day, I was about to end it because nothing was happening.
Yeah, sadly nothing happened during the first 24 hours. Zimbardo expected extremely fast results, I guess. Put the uniform on and immediately become a different person. Using the blindfold on the prisoners was absolutely abuse, and it's interesting he felt that he had to do that to make the study convincing. Try that now in a research experiment and see how fast you get sued.
But the next day, on the morning of the next day, the prisoners rebelled. And what the guards did, they came to me and said, the prisoners are rebelling, what are we going to do? I said, it's your prison. Whatever you want, I will do it, but you got to tell me. And they said, we have to treat force with force. So they broke down the doors. Stripped the prisoners naked, dragged them out. Some of them, they tied up their feet.
So physical restraints were fine on day 2? From nothing's happening at all on day 1 to having to use physical restraints on day 2. If you think about it, that's a bit suspicious. Bit fast, eh? But the truth is, the experiment was set up to get the results that they wanted to get because they already wrote out what results they were going to get before the study even started. Now these guards know they're in a study. Why would they risk arrest? Why would they get so violent and aggressive so fast?
They put him in solitary confinement, which was a tiny little hole in a closet, about this big, dark, and they said at this point, everything but breathing air is a privilege. Food is a privilege, clothes are a privilege, having a bed is a privilege. And so the guards began to say, here are the new rules. And the new rules are, you are dangerous and we are going to treat you as such. And then it began to escalate. Each day, the level of abuse, aggression, violence against prisoners got more and more extreme. And so the guards changed to become more dominant. And you see, it's all about power. It's the whole institution that empowers the guards, who are the representative of this institution called prison, to do whatever is necessary to prevent prisoners from escaping, maintain law and order.
Keep going. Once I was blind, but now I see. I was...
The way direction it took is having them engage in ever more humiliating tasks, cleaning toilet bowls out with their bare hands, taking their blankets and putting them in dirt and with nettles, and the prisoners had to spend hours taking the nettles out if they wanted to, sleep. And it's essentially saying, we have the power to create a totally arbitrary, mindless environment, and that's the environment you have to live in. So some of the prisoners are now crushed, and in 36 hours the first kid has an emotional breakdown, meaning crying, screaming, irrational thinking.
I gotta go. To a doctor, anything. No! God damn it!
And we have to release him.
Okay, did they do any follow-up? Is there any suggestion of any real concern that he really broke down? What did the guards and the other prisoners think and do when he had his breakdown? Prisoner 8612, Corpy, became a prison psychologist. In other words, he got an advanced degree in psychology. And here he is in a psychology experiment. Not a red flag as such, but it makes you wonder.
In 5 days, we had to release 5 of the prisoners because the situation was so overwhelming. What about the kids who didn't break down? They became zombies. Zombies in the sense that they became almost all mindlessly obedient. Whatever the guards would say, they did. Do this, they did. Do 10 push-ups, do 20 push-ups. Step on him while he's doing a push-up. Tell him he's a bastard.
Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad...
So within 48 to 72 hours, we are to believe that the individual prisoners became so beaten down by their regime and their circumstances that they became de-individualized zombies. Same time frame for the guards. But none of the guards and none of the prisoners in any meaningful way refused to take part in the experiment once they realized they didn't like it. None of the prisoners attacked physically the guards. None of the guards refused to do what they were told to do by the prison governor, who happened to be the chief researcher. For me, after 72 hours, they would not have lost their personhood. This is a script. That's my opinion.
Horrifying to see the kids break down. It was even more horrifying to see these other kids just become mindlessly obedient.
Because of what prisoner 819 did, my cell is a mess. Because of what prisoner 819 did, my cell is a mess.
Again, we have to keep remembering, these are kids who start out being rebels against society, every one of them, and now they are just pawns. They are the puppets that the guards are manipulating. In fact, one of the guards said it was like being a puppeteer.
Are the guards spontaneously doing this, or have they been scripted and instructed to do so by the chief researcher, the prison governor, Zimbardo? What do you think? The Stanford Prison Experiment needs removing from the science of psychology, as it is not just unethical, but it was also deeply flawed.
The guards tested their control over the prisoners by making them write a letter home.
No need to visit, it's 7th heaven. Yours truly. Yours truly. Your loving son. Your loving son. And put the name there that your mother gave you.
The results were surprising because I did not expect the transformation of good kids into pathological prisoners or abusing guards to occur so quickly and so extremely. That is, we had assumed from all other research, that there would be verbal abuse, they would make fun of them, there would be teasing, there would be bullying, but not this kind of, I would call it creative evil. That is, thinking about ways to demean, degrade, dehumanize other human beings. And the critical thing there in that transformation is becoming the role, or the role becoming you, and suspending your usual morality, your usual way of thinking.
In 5 days? Are humans this weak? Do we so easily lose our individuality and commit evil? That the Stanford Prison Experiment is so well known and believed to be true is outrageous when you look at the fortitude, resilience and bravery of prisoners of war throughout history. From this timeline, specifically look at American prisoners of war in early 1971 in Vietnam. They did not break or lose identity within a week of capture, despite much more worse and brutal treatment. Their story is what should have informed psychology, not the flawed Stanford Prison Experiment. Of note, I will assume anything a draft dodger says about an American hero who suffered 5.5 years in captivity by the Viet Cong as nonsense.
He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
We all act roles. Sometimes it's the only way to survive. Sometimes it is convenient. Acting tough while being a coward seems more convincing than it should be. Being a hero is refusing preferential treatment from the Viet Cong because your dad happened to be an admiral, and staying to be tortured for 5.5 years when he only had to stay for a few weeks. In 2024, no one seems to know what a hero or coward actually is anymore. I believe the Stanford Prison Experiment has helped this blurring of reality.
You really become that person once you put on that khaki uniform, you put on the glasses, you take the nightstick, and you act the part.
Next time, did the Stanford Prison Experiment actually teach us anything about people, prisons, and individuality? Why did people not really notice the words acting and role appeared over and over and over in the interviews with both the prisoners, the guards, and in fact the researcher? Who actually funded the Stanford Prison Experiment, and why? Zimbardo became very famous from this experiment, and he went on to do other experiments, which to me, when I look at them, and I haven't studied them in any detail, seem a little bit suspect. And finally, we will look at why I think the Stanford Prison Experiment was welcomed and accepted by most people in psychology and in the media and in the government. Until then, have a great day. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to give me a subscription because it makes me happy. Have a great day. Toodles. This has been a Well Prepared Terrier 2024 production.